The creepiest things ever overheard by random people, NSFW. She just turned 13. About 2 years ago, I had traveled out of town to go visit a job site my company was contracted for and wanted to enjoy a nice treat, steak and shake. I had just ordered my food and I suddenly began overhearing the conversation taking place behind me. The voices sounded older. Late 50s, maybe early 60s. Man 1, oh. I forgot to tell you I talked to Jenny, not exact name, the other day. Man 2, sweet. How's she doing? How's her daughter? Man 1, she's great, man. Her daughter is as beautiful as ever. Man 2, good deal. I remember her daughter used to be smoking hot. I wish I could, censored, for the sake of my sanity, before the schoolboys get to it. Man 1, oh, you and me both. Man 2, how old is she now? Man 1, she just turned 13. Dangerous roommates. I was sitting in my room quietly working on homework. I was in college at the time, and overheard two men, one of whom lived in the room next to me, calmly discussing the best way to sexually overpower me. It was 10 a.m. and they were already drinking beer. They were discussing tactics like drugging my food or drink, or physically overpowering me on my way to the bathroom, either very early or late when no one would be awake to hear me scream. They then started discussing the vile things they wanted to do, mostly involving harming me in vicious and inventive ways. Seriously, call the police. A guy I was standing near in the bar, the simple fact of the matter is, I could easily drug and sexually overpower any of these chicks. Most of them I wouldn't even have to drug, because I'm obviously stronger. His friend, that's 100% fact. Hell, I'd help if she turned out to be a fighter. You know that. I could pretend they were having a hypothetical discussion about women's safety issues if it wasn't for that second guy's reply. The mind eraser. When I was a bartender, I could overhear quite a few conversations. The most unnerving came when I saw a man hand another man a small brown container with a white cap. I only overheard snippets, won't remember anything. Even from what happened before. Total eraser, do it again and again. Get blackouts. You don't know what kind of damage that does, pass out? I'm not a necrophiliac. No, they participate all right. Father knows best. A father is talking about his two daughters aged 6 and 9. Him, yeah, she has a body like a boy now, but once she gets older, I'm sure she'll have a sexy body. Everyone in the room, him, just like her mom, I know if I was a boy their age that I would be trying to be really close friends with them. If you see something, say something. At Starbucks in a pretty affluent area, two soccer moms are having a conversation about mom number one's 12-year-old son, inappropriately touching his sister who sounded close in age. It was graphic and detailed about what he did and what they were doing to stop it. They were talking in normal tones and not even being remotely secretive about this. No, I didn't call the cops. No one is going to believe a poor kid over rich soccer moms anyway. This is why you shouldn't learn Russian. I speak a small amount of Russian. Not enough to get me through a conversation, but after watching a bunch of videos and trying to learn the language, I can understand a fair amount more than I can speak. I was in Toronto walking down the road and there were two guys, Russian, sitting and talking in Russian at a table. I overheard 4 words. Dead body, murder, and what was essentially disposed of. I turned pale and got the fuck out of there. Age of consent. While having breakfast one morning in 2015, at a pousada somewhere in northeast Brazil, I overheard the British owner say the following to some of his friends. So in terms of the new law, even if the boy consents or seduces you, you can still be charged, if he was underage. Time to put on your invisibility cloak. I used to work at a Honda factory in Alabama, and they get a lot of workers in from temp agencies, so you tend to get a lot of weird ones. As I'm walking back from my lunch break, I pass two guys and accidentally overhear, "I just want to impregnate the first thing I see." My only thoughts were, "Don't make eye contact, don't make eye contact, don't make eye contact." The curse of the homeless man at In and Out. When I was at In and Out at 1 a.m. having your average post-drinking midnight meal, there was a homeless guy in the corner, quite dirty and obviously trying to subtly eat some leftovers someone left because he was hungry. Some drunk frat brothers were making fun of him, telling him to go back to his hole and other insults. After a few minutes of this, the homeless guy got up, stood on his table, and literally put a curse on them. I forget his exact wording because the scene was so shocking and I couldn't believe what I was seeing/hearing, but it was something to the effect of, "I hereby curse you never to father healthy children and to die a painful death without love in the next year. You will be tortured by Satan for all eternity, I swear it." The employees called the cops and the homeless dude left. Maybe rabies. I was in a PATH train car with about 10 or 11 businesswomen. All middle-aged. All looking pretty damn professional. 8 or 9 of them looked pretty damn sexy, if I do say so myself. They were going on about how to trick men into getting them pregnant. Not even to trap them in a relationship. They just had the baby rabies. Like they left a convention or something. I made eye contact with another dude on the train. I'm pretty sure we were thinking the same damn thing. You've got to think out your vigorous, intimate encounters. 2 guys are talking next to me at a restaurant. Guy 1, "Dude, how do you decide if you take her to her place or your place?" Guy 2, "It depends on how rough I want it to get." Guy 1, "What do you mean?" Guy 2, "Well, if I get rough and we're at her place, she kicks me out and I have to go home in the middle of the night. If we're at my place, the girl can leave and I'm already in bed. Everyone's gonna die. Send the money back to Jamaica or everyone's gonna die." I was waiting at a bus stop when a woman walked past me, screaming this into her phone. I'd very much like to find out if they sent the money back. Time to stop going to BK. At Burger King one day, and they found her dead in the river? Who pulled her out? Oh, she was murdered? It was a guy talking very loudly on his cell phone. There was an audible sigh of relief when he left. Stab you in the eye with a fork. Sitting in my backyard, I once heard the neighbor girl yell at her little sister, "I will take a fork and stab your eye and pluck it out." The little sister started giggling. The phantom poop. I heard a dude grunting in the stall next to me trying to poop, but they were clearly phantom poops. Although, every time he farted he broke out into hysterical laughter and would then return to grunting. The grunting got louder and louder until he just let out this epic grunt. Seriously, I thought he was shitting a boulder. I think the whole student union heard him. Anyway, after the huge grunt, I heard the smallest plop and all hell broke loose. He was cheering at this victory by banging on the side of the stall. Screaming with happiness. Between his screaming laughter, he would yell, "Fuck you poop. You can't control me." And, as an added bonus, Uber drivers confess the darkest secrets they've overheard on the job. His passenger was having a going-away party. Former Uber driver here. Picked a girl up, a sweet girl from a bar on a Wednesday night, absolutely hammered, about 10 p.m. She got into my car, apologized for being so drunk, and politely asked if we could just drive around a little while with the windows down. I was prepping for a cleaning fee, trying to drive and pull a vomit bag out of the glove box, but no, she just did that airplane thing with one hand out the backseat window. She asked me if I had ever thought about dying, to which I replied, "Yeah, I guess so." That's when she told me that she had cancer. It was in her brain, and it was too far gone to consider chemo. I remember my heart just pounding. She told me she was dying, and she was going to be okay. Tonight, she was celebrating with her work friends who threw her a going-away party. She told them she was taking a position abroad. I just didn't tell them that abroad was heaven. Jesus. Fucking Christ. I turned off my app and cried my ass all the way home. They overheard a dangerous conversation. I once drove some well-dressed Russians in between bars on the west side of Chicago. I used to work for a Russian-owned cab company, and I understand a little Russian, and I heard two of them talking back and forth about something one of them was very anxious about. The phrases that jumped out at me were "this is passing," "this is serious," "blood is on me," and "I'm not a bad man." The other guy was mainly just telling him to relax a lot, and telling him, "There are no fools here," or something along those lines. Upon dropping them off, like an idiot, I temporarily blanked that I had just heard parts of a seemingly harrowing conversation, and I said, "Good night" in Russian. Only one of them heard me, the older guy telling his colleague to relax, and he just stared at me. Then he came around to my window while reaching into his coat pocket, which scared me shitless. He then pulled out a $100 and said, in English, "My friend, do we understand?" I just took it, shook my head in the affirmative, and drove off. I didn't take any rides for the rest of the night. He had a very intense passenger. So I picked up a guy in a suit at around 6 p.m. on Tuesday near Venice, CA. He told me to take him downtown, and per usual, I asked if he had a preferred route and he said, "No, whatever is quickest." We get going, and the usual banter begins. "So how long have you been driving for Uber?" Me, 1 year or so, "It's a great job." He says, "Oh cool, where do you stay at?" I answer, "In the valley," and he says, "Oh nice, nice. So, how long have you been driving for Uber?" I paused and kind of half smiled, thinking he was effing with me. He wasn't. So I answered verbatim, 1 year or so, "It's a great job." He goes, "Oh cool, where do you stay at?" This repeated 3 more times before I finally answered it differently, saying, "I just started, it's not for me." And him again replying, "Oh cool, where do you stay at?" I answered one last time the original way, but then finally, silence. By this point, I was on the 10 highway, stuck in rush hour traffic. I look in my rear view, and he is rubbing his head and hair profusely, like someone going through withdrawals. He took his suit jacket off and looked severely uncomfortable. I dialed 911 on my phone in case SHT went down. He then, out of nowhere, yells in a deeper voice than earlier, "Fuck." I said, Sir, is everything alright?" And he goes, "Where are we?" I said, "I'm on the 10 headed downtown, is that still okay?" He goes, "Yes." At this point, by the graces of the universe, we ended up moving pretty quickly through traffic. Then, right before we exit off the 10, 2 miles or so from his apartment, he yelled again, "Where are we?" I said, "Sir, we're almost to your house, is that still okay?" And he goes, "Yes, that's fine." Once we arrive, I pull up to drop him off, and he gathers his stuff, opens the door, and looks back in at me before walking away and in the most genuine, kind way, says, "Have a great night. Watch out for wild people." Honestly, one of the strangest, creepiest events ever. Subsequently, I bought a stun device/taser, and luckily so, as this was just the beginning of several wild incidents. So damn glad I don't drive anymore. His passenger made some distressing statements. Drove Uber one night. It was pretty tame until I picked up 2 guys who wanted to go to a gentleman's club 40 miles away. As they requested an Uber Select fare, I was happy to drive that far, $80, $100. It took them 15 minutes to get ready and into the car, and they seemed cool, so I wasn't worried. As soon as we got on the freeway, the guy in the passenger seat started asking about Uber driving, and things got dark. After a few minutes, he started saying SHT like, "What would you do if someone just grabbed the steering wheel and ran the car into the median? And have you ever thought about what would happen if someone in the back seat tried to harm you while you were driving?" I got a little freaked out and tried to lighten the mood by asking what they were celebrating, etc., but the one guy just kept at it. I was happy to get to the gentleman's club and get them the hell out of the car. A bonus was the bouncer at the club gave me $40 for dropping them off there. I never drove Uber again. He heard about a prison break. Drove for Lyft in Denver, CO, between jobs this summer. My third passenger ever, and he was going to the airport. He said he was moving to Florida, to get away from it all. But didn't have any luggage, not even a carry-on. I wasn't going to say anything about it, but my curiosity got the best of me. So, where's all your luggage? Did you ship everything ahead of time? He doesn't say anything right away, and just as I was deciding that perhaps I wasn't going to get an answer, nah, I just had my friend call me a lift and he set up my flight. I just escaped from prison, but we look so much alike, his ID will work for me to travel. I was quiet the rest of the trip. They landed in the middle of a domestic dispute. Picked up a girl who had to go to work across town. She and her boyfriend were arguing in the parking lot as I was approaching. Girl gets in my car, and she's worried she's not going to get to work on time, and she would be fired if she was late. Getting about a block away and my phone rang, I answered and tried to get it off my Bluetooth stereo to no avail. The person on the other line was her boyfriend, and he said he wanted to apologize to his girlfriend and that I shouldn't listen to her because she was a wild bitch. She heard all of it and didn't say a thing, very awkward. Finally, get her to work, and she asks me to stay in the parking lot as she goes in and quits her job. She gets back a few minutes later, and, on the way home, tells me that her boyfriend once broke her arm in an argument, and that he was going to be very mad at her and she was worried about going back home, but taking her there anyway. Ended up dropping her off and calling non-emergency, but I have no clue if anything ever happened with it. His passenger had given up on life. I had someone get in my car, told me he's in his late 20s and that he's having relations with a girl who just recently turned 18. I awkwardly told him that's good for him, and he proceeded to tell me that it's not, that his life sucks, and everything he does to make himself happy doesn't work. He told me he watches videos of people committing suicide and wishes he had the courage they did to go through with it. He told me he's going to go to San Francisco to spend every last penny he has on vacation and just jump off the Golden Gate Bridge when he's done. I didn't really know what to say. When I dropped him off, I told him that I hope things start looking up, and he just said, they won't. They never do, and left. He also asked weird questions like, if I hit you, would you kick my ass? When I said I'd rather no one hit anyone, he said, dude, you'd whoop my ass. I'm a fucking piece of shit. He got a cheater in the act. I picked up this young, overly affectionate couple that spent the entire trip making out in my backseat and telling each other that they loved each other. Cute. So I drop off the couple and head on my way to pick up my text fare. I hear a cell phone ring in my backseat, realize it's my previous rides, and pick up the phone to let them know I have it, and I'll come back to drop it off. Turns out it was the guy's wife phoning to check in on him while he was on a business trip, which he was thoroughly enjoying with his mistress. He overheard a bachelor party confession. Two dudes discussing how much fun they had at one of their bachelor parties. The fun consisted of the most coke I've ever done, and I can't believe I fucked a call girl right before I got married. He heard about an interesting love triangle. One time, I was driving a dude for a bit of a long trip. Was gonna take around 25 to 30 minutes. He wasn't hammered, but definitely a bit drunk. It was late, and he must have been feeling a bit down, so he confided in me and asked me for some advice. He told me he was madly in love with his fiance's best friend, and he couldn't back out now. He'd been with this girl 4 years and engaged for 1, ready to be married in a few months. It was pretty sad to hear because it wasn't just your average story. It was filled with a lot of subtle emotional and mental anguish. The guy went through about 5 years of ups and downs with his girl and found an innocent friend and comfort in his best friend. After a few years, he developed feelings, and it was just downhill from there. Felt bad for the guy because he seemed like he was truly in love with his fiancée, too, although he had strong feelings for this friend. He knew that going through with the marriage meant a lifetime of being around the friend and suppressing feelings, but also breaking it off meant that he lost the girl of his dreams. Seemed like a genuinely nice guy, and I hope he's doing okay. His passenger had quite the sad story. Picked up a girl mid-Saturday. She was a bit upset and a little teary and opened up to me. Turned out a business she had started was failing, and she was in debt and had turned to strip on the side to cover the bills. She said the pay was good, but she kept getting really sick from all the booze she felt obliged to drink. Part of her job was making guys spend money at the bar. She hated it and felt trapped and kept asking me what I would do in her situation. I'm a guy, so kind of hard for me to answer. Tried to give her the best advice I could think of, like getting the tax office to withhold tax for a while, but I couldn't help, really. The only thing I could do was end the trip early. He heard a secret about his own family. My friend Ubers in my hometown. Picked up some really nice girls out on first Friday. They're talking about their plans for next autumn. Guy thinks he recognizes one of them, turns out to be my younger sister, and he tells me all about it. And that's how I found out my little sister was moving to Spain.
Not leaving us so soon, are you?
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And feel free to leave a comment or email the Horror Girls with suggestions, your own scary experience, original fiction, disconcerting videos, or anything horror related that you would like to share. We'd also love to help promote indie or up-and-coming horror authors by posting a book review or your book trailer. Email us for more info.